Good day, everyone, especially to our Professor Doc Manuel Roman. Good day, sir. I am Leonard K. Gonzaga Tato. Today, I will be discussing about Jean Piaget's theory on education. But before we go deeper in Piaget's theory, let us know first his background. Jean Piaget was a psychologist and epistemologist who focused on child development. He developed a theory of human cognitive development known as genetic epistemology, based on his interest in biology and particularly the adaptation of species to their environment. His theory that human intelligence was also an adaptive mechanism was controversial at that time. It challenged the dominant psychometric and behaviorist approaches to intelligence, which measured intelligence as a fixed and inherited trait or referred to external conditioning that they called behaviorism as the source of cognitive change. Piaget also argued that humans were active meaning makers who construct rather than receive knowledge, with much capacity to improve intelligence over a lifetime. So there are main features of Piaget's educational theory. Piaget offered a unique experimental method for determining children's cognitive abilities as well as a detailed explanation of how children develop logical and mathematical thinking. Number one feature is that development is understood as an increase in the complexity, mobility, and systemization of cognitive structures. Piaget saw thinking which is the ability to connect ideas and solve problems, as the result of cognitive structures that are gradually built within the brain as a result of direct exposure to and interaction with the environment. Example for this is active engagement in the environment. Learning often occurs hands-on activities, discussion, and real-world applications. Experiences allow students to explore, experiment, and apply knowledge, leading to deeper understanding. Furthermore, encountering diverse situations help students relate new information to their existing knowledge, facilitating learning through assimilation and accommodation. It just means that the more the child is exposed and interact with his or her environment, the more he or she will develop the cognitive development. Okay, the second feature is learning is a process of adaptation. Learning is a process of adaptation to environmental stimuli involving successive periods of Piaget called assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration. Now let's talk about the assimilation versus accommodation. Assimilation is the process involves integrating new information into existing cognitive structures that we call schemas. When a child encounters something new, they try to understand it based on what they already know. For example, a child owns a German Shepherd. They see a bulldog in a park and notice it looks like a German Shepherd. They point at the bulldog and say, "That's a dog." And the parents said, "Yes, it's a dog called a bulldog." The child's dog schema is now improved and defined. So the child now know that there are two types of dog or three or more. Whereas in accommodation, the process involves modifying existing schemas or creating new ones in response to new information that doesn't fit into existing frameworks. For example, a child owns a dog. They see a horse and notice it looks like a dog. They point out a dog and say, "That's a dog." But the parents correct them, "That is a horse." The process of accommodation then allows the child to adapt the existing schema to incorporate the knowledge that some four-legged animals are horses. So, their knowledge before that there are only dogs, which is four-legged animals, are now changed into another knowledge, new existing schema. So there is schema before, there will be new schema, which is that there are also four-legged animals aside from dogs. So there are horses, etc., and etc., not only dogs. That's the explanation about accommodation. However, when they learn that a dog and a horse has different features, they experience disequilibrium. To regain the equilibrium, they accommodate by creating a new schema for horses, allowing them to understand and differentiate between dogs and horses. So, equilibrium simply means that it is a balance between of information from assimilation and accommodation. The next feature is learning is dependent not only on experience, but also on students' maturation. Learning is dependent not only on experience, but also on students' maturation and their ability to absorb and learn from stimuli. Piaget observed that students were limited by their existing cognitive structures in developing new ways of understanding phenomena. Example for this is the developmental readiness of our pupils. Cognitive development, as outlined by Piaget, suggests that students can only grasp certain concepts when they reach specific developmental stages. For example, younger children may struggle with abstract thinking until they mature cognitively. Effective learning occurs when students experience align with their developmental readiness, allowing them to process and integrate new information successfully. Next feature in Piaget's theory is all about development occurs in four progressive stages. Thinking progresses from concrete, egocentric thinking that is strongly tied to physical experiences towards formal, abstract reasoning that involves mental rather than physical manipulation of concepts and ideas. Each stage represents a fundamental qualitative difference in ways of perceiving the world, processing and responding to information, and developing concepts. So this is the four stages according to Piaget. First is a sensory motor, followed by pre-operational. Then next is concrete operational, and the last stage is formal operational. So let us discuss this one by one. The first stage is, we call it sensory motor, which is the birth to 2 years old. Understanding of the world are limited to visual and tactile interaction with the world. Imitation provides a foundation for thinking in visual images. So at this stage, the children are explore the world through senses and motor activities such as grasping, sucking, looking, listening, and also the child also starts to walk and then builds tower with two or more blocks. The next stage is pre-operational, which is 2 years old to 4 years old. In this stage, thinking involves visual images about sensory motor actions and experiences, and symbolic thought. Thought is focused on particular without abstracting general principles and relies on perception and intuition. When we say a child relies on perception and intuition, it means that children often interpret the world around them based on their immediate sensory experiences and gut feelings. Their understanding is shaped by what they see, hear, and feel rather than abstract reasoning or detailed analysis. For example, a child might recognize a friendly face because of how it makes them feel, or they might react to a situation based on their initial impressions rather than weighing all the facts. And another example is if the child might feel uncomfortable around a new adult even without knowing why. Their instinct might tell them that something feels off or even if the adult is friendly. At this stage also, the child begins to explore. A toddler may be drawn to colorful objects or shiny surfaces simply because they look appealing, leading them to explore and interact with those items based on their immediate attraction rather than a logical reason. That's why the child might grab a knife or a sharp things that are sharp because they don't know that it is hazard or it is not a toy for them or it might cause them harm. In pre-operational, the child has difficulty distinguishing fantasy from reality. That's why children at this stage are thinking that cartoon characters they see in TV are real people. And they can also understand the conservation of matter. When we say conservation of matter, it is the understanding that something doesn't change even though it looks different. Shape is not related to quantity. For example, are 10 coins set in a long line more than 10 coins in a pile? So they can understand that these are just the same. Another example is that is there less water if it is poured into a bigger container? So if we ask the child at this stage, they will choose the bigger container if we ask them which is more water. They will point out the bigger container. Whereas if we are being asked at this age, if we are being asked which is more water in the two containers, of course we will answer that is just the same. These are just the same volume of water. The next stage is concrete operational. This is 7 to 8 years old to 11 to 12 years old. As the stage, cognitive structures have developed sufficiently to be used as logical systems, term operations, and used across contexts rather than being specific to a certain type of problem in a particular concept. Abstract reasoning in this stage are complete. Abstract reasoning ability and ability to generalize from the concrete increases. Now they can understand the conservation of matter. At the operational stage of thought, children understand the notions of reversibility, which is for example, subtraction. Subtraction can cancel addition. A clay of ball can be transformed into a sausage and back again. And also, they have the ability to the associativity, which is the ability to identify several ways to pursue an objective. And the last stage, according to Piaget, is formal operational. It is 11 to 12 years old to 16 to 17 years old. In this stage, abstract and decontextualized reasoning using verbal prepositions, premises, ideas, and concepts is possible without access to concrete objects. Students can hypothesize, problem solve, note relations between ideas and things, hold a number of ideas in mind, and develop and relate concepts. And at this stage, the child will be able to think about hypothetical situations, form and test hypotheses, organize information, and reason is scientifically. Note, the age norms provided by Piaget were approximations, although Piaget believed that all humans undergo these stages in this order as they develop cognition and intelligence. Okay, now let's proceed to the last two main features of Piaget's theory. Next is learning depends upon students' hands-on interactions with objects. Learning depends upon students' hands-on and interactions with objects rather than the transmission of information. Students need to experience concepts such as addition or capacity by interacting with things in their environment, and they develop logical and mathematical thought as they internalize these actions as thought processes. So, in this feature, as a teacher, we can use Arialia in order for our students to learn effectively the concepts of our topic. The last is social factor have an important role in students' knowledge construction. Children gain knowledge both individually and by observing and acting with others in groups. Peer discussion, which generates cognitive conflict, is seen as a critical factor in cognitive development. Piaget thought that while the development of cognition had a biological innate and predetermined basis, society also had an important role in providing appropriate possibilities for students to develop their cognition. That's why it takes a village to raise a child. Same with the theory of Piaget, society should be involved also in developing the cognitive of a child. There are empirical evidence for this theory. Is there an empirical evidence for this theory in practice? Recent developments in neuroscience have confirmed the flexibility of the brain and its ability to respond and grow with experience, which aligns with Piaget's theory of the construction of cognitive structures to account for and incorporate knowledge from different experiences. Neuroscience also shows that as students grow older and develop, they add more advanced forms of thinking to their repertoire. Drawing on Piaget's unique experimental method, extensive research has confirmed and improved some of his ideas. Yet, because of this method drew heavily upon experimental and artificial situations that may not have adequately reflected children's actual development, nor taken into account variations in students' development in different social and cultural contexts, many of Piaget's claims have been contested. Some of the abilities that Piaget attributed to maturation have been shown to a function of experience, with children found to be more capable when the tasks presented to them are meaningful and relevant to them. Neuroscientific research also shows that rather than finite stages of development, it is more likely that there are cycles of development where periods of optimal performance are followed by spurts that result in new types of thinking and behavior. Piaget's theory made an impact in teaching practice. Piaget's ideas about learning and development have influenced constructivist theories of learning as well as child-centered pedagogies, and particularly a tendency for passive, background roles for teachers in children's education. Piaget theorized that the accommodation and assimilation cognitive processes could not be accelerated by instruction, and that most of interactions were ineffective in influencing cognitive change unless positioned at the correct level between assimilation and accommodation and building very carefully from what the students already understands. Piaget suggested that teachers' role involved providing appropriate learning experiences and materials that stimulate students to advance their thinking. His theory has influenced concepts of individual and student-centered learning, formative assessment, active learning, discovery learning, and peer interaction. However, it has also sometimes been misinterpreted to suggest that direct teaching would be inappropriate, a claim that is clearly shown to be inaccurate in cognitive science research. So let's discuss it one by one. First is individual learning. What is individual learning? Piaget focused on learning as individual development is reflected in the organization of most education systems, where learning is individualized and students are measured on their individual rather than collaborative performances. So it happens in our school, most in our school here in the Philippines. We take assessments individually. We take also collaboratively with group mates. But in this individual learning, we assess the child individually. For example, development is seen as individual rather than social and cultural. Next is student-centered teaching and formative assessment. When we say assessment, these practices that aim to find out what students already know and can do in order to inform subsequent teaching are important for teaching to be timely and relevant for each student's current capacity for structuring and restructuring knowledge. Teachers use assessment to understand students' prior experience and understanding and how they personally construct a topic or subject in their minds. Next is the active learning. Piaget thought that independent exploration and discovery were important at all stages of cognitive development in enabling students to lead their own learning in line with their current developmental understandings. Students at the stage of concrete operations require opportunities for hands-on learning, experimenting, and testing of objects in order to build concepts, as well as later to work with verbal propositions. Students at the formal operations stage benefit from open-ended projects in which they can explore hypothetical possibilities and reasoning. Finally, last is peer conflict. Piaget's ideas about the importance of cognitive conflict to stimulate the process of equilibrium are sometimes put into practice via opportunities for classroom discussion, which aims to enable students to come across ideas and theories which conflict with their own. So that is all my report about Piaget's theory on education. Thank you so much for listening. God bless us all.